Mr. Hansen. This is the introductory lesson for linear equations. And a linear equation is a function that would form a line on a graph. Almost any line, just not a vertical line. So a vertical line would not pass the vertical line test. Okay, let's take a look at a function here. It says Ryan has a 20-page book. A 200-page book. He reads 20 pages a day. So let's just kind of play around with this for a minute. I'm going to draw a little bit of a graph here with an X and a Y. So here's the X number line, the Y number line. And let's see here. X is going to be the number of days. Remember, time usually determines is the independent variable, and then Y is the number of pages left. Pages left. That's how I want to do that this time. Some people might do pages read, which is a little different, so it's important how you label your axes. And let's see if we can plot some points. Well, at 0 days, and let's count by 40, 80, 120, 160, 200 here. At 0 days, he has 200 pages left to read. And at 1 day, well, if he's read 20 pages, he's down to 180. And at 2 days, he's down to 160. At 3, he's down to 140. At 4, he's down to 120. And at 5, he's down to 100, something like that. And you can start to see a linear pattern forming. So that's kind of the idea there. We've just taken a function in words and we've shown a picture of it. And we can, from this picture, we can surmise maybe three big ideas here. So let's see if we can do this. First of all, when x is 0, at 0 days, y is 200. So this is the y-intercept, 0, 200. And I'll just kind of highlight that one with a big dot here. That's the y-intercept. It's kind of a nice landmark because a lot of times we start off with 0. And so it's just really helpful. Okay, let's take a look at something else. Let's go over 1 day and see what happened to y as we went over 1 day. So we went over 1 day. How many pages did we go down? If you said 20, you're right. So remember, rise over run is the slope. And we're saying negative 20 over 1. And that holds true based on this, based on what we said in the word problem, 20 pages each day. He'd go over another day and down another 20. And so we're just going to say that that holds true throughout for this story problem. Okay, last thing is the X-intercept, and we can maybe find that this time by extending our graph here and kind of determining what that number is right there. So it looks like this is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So after 10 days, he is finished with the book. Yet again, another important landmark there, the X-intercept. It kind of gives us how many days until he's completed all of the pages. So these are kind of our three identifying features in a linear equation. They're really important. Okay, we have looked at this linear function several different ways. First of all, we've looked at it with words right here. Words. And then we have looked at it right here as a graph. Graphs can tell us a lot, like if it's increasing or decreasing or linear or not, and so on. And then finally, we've looked at it here. This is kind of a mini table. These two, the x and y-intercept, is just a listing of ordered pairs or a table. And then finally, we have one other way that we need to maybe look at this function, and that is as an equation. So we're going to do that next. So these are the four ways that a function, four general ways that a function is represented: words, graph, table, equation. They're all just different ways of showing how your inputs match your outputs. It's just a bunch of ordered pairs in any of those situations. All right, let's take a look at the equation part. Oh, look at that. I've got it right here. Y equals negative 20x plus 200. Let's see if we can kind of reword this now that we know what the equation is. Let's see if we can turn it back into words. So x is saying my number of days. multiply that by negative 20, and that's, you lose 20 pages per day, so that's by the slope, you lose 20 pages per day. And then add 200 to that. That was kind of the starting point. So 200 minus the 20 pages times the number of days gives you the number of pages left, y. So y equals number of pages left. Hopefully you're able to kind of make sense of this from the words just a minute ago. Y equals negative 20x plus 200. Okay. There are some advantages to this equation. First of all, it's easy to see the slope. We know that we're reading 20 pages a day. It's easy to see the y-intercept. We know that at 0 days, we are on page 200. So this is nice, and then the other nice advantage is if you plug any number you want in for x and put it through these operations here, you get out a y that tells you how many pages you have left to read. Kind of a nice little tool there if you're reading a book. Okay, so this is called slope-intercept form because we have the slope m and the intercept y. This function was easy to write in slope-intercept form just because of the way it was worded. But there are other forms of a linear function. So we're going to take a look at this slope-intercept form. I'm going to rewrite it. Y equals negative 20x plus 200. And I'm going to rewrite it in standard form, and we'll talk about the advantages to standard form. So if I wanted to put this in standard form, I would have to go ax plus by equals c. So really we're trying to get this over here. And if you think about how to do that, if you're subtracting 20x, let's add 20x to both sides because these will cancel out, and then you've got the 20x there. So now we have 20x plus 1y equals 200. 20x plus 1y equals 200. Well, what is this one telling us? The last one told us the slope and the y-intercept. It was in function notation. You could put in a number for x, get out a number for y. But how is this one going to be helpful? Let's take a look here. You might remember we had three kind of landmark features. They were the x-intercept, the y-intercept, and the slope. Let's just take a look and see if we can kind of determine the intercepts. That would give us 2 points, and really 2 points on a graph is enough to make a line. So let's see what we can do here. What if we wanted the x-intercept? Here's x, there's y. If we wanted a point somewhere along this line, what would y equal? What would it be worth? If you said 0, you're right, because up here it's 1, down here it's negative 1, and then right in the middle there it's going to be 0. So y is worth 0. So let's just kind of rewrite this equation for the y-intercept. We're going to go 20x plus 0y equals 200. Now I'm just going to put a big X to that 0y because we really don't need it. That's nothing. So now this is easy to solve. 20x equals 200. Just divide by 20. What's 200 divided by 20? You've got 10. So 10, 0. That's saying after 10 days, you have 0 pages left. Okay, that's the x-intercept. Let's take a look at the y-intercept. If you wanted a number somewhere on this graph, or on this number line, what would your x be? It's not going to be 1. It's not going to be negative 1. It's going to be halfway between 1 and negative 1. It's going to be right there at 0. So let's put a 0 in for x this time. So we're going to rewrite the equation. 20 times 0 plus 1y equals 200. And I'm going to cross this out because 20 times 0 is just 0. We got y equals 200. So when x is 0, y is 200. So there you have it. You have 2 important landmark points that are pretty easy to find from this standard form of the equation. Let's take a look at one other way that the standard form might be helpful. I'm going to use a new word problem this time. So at 7-Eleven, you can get a 30-ounce big gulp or a 40-ounce super gulp. If a person got 480 ounces for their office staff, what combinations of drink sizes are possible? Okay, so we have these two to choose from, and this time I'm gonna start with this one because I think it's easier to write. We can say 30 ounces times x. X is the number of 30-ounce drinks. So if there was 2, it'd be 60 ounces. If there was 3, it'd be 90, and so on. Plus 40 ounces times y. So x equals number of 30 ounce drinks. Y equals what? Number of 40-ounce drinks. Equals, so all of the 30-ounce drinks plus all the 40-ounce drinks add up to 480 ounces, just like that. So in this case, it was easier to write in standard form. Kind of nice. Let's just see if we can kind of graph it from standard form. Remember, if we want something on the, let's count by 40s. 40, 80, 120, 160, and 40, 80, 120, 160, 200. Hopefully that's enough. So here's my x, here's my y. X is your 30-ounce drinks. Y is your 40-ounce drinks. So let's plug in a 0 for x. That'll put us on the x number, I'm sorry, a 0 for y. That'll put us on the x number line. So 30x plus 40 times 0 equals 480. And I just cross that out. And so 480 divided by 30, 3 goes into 48 16 times. So x is 16 when y is 0. Okay, I way did this wrong on the, let's count by 4s, not, sorry about that. Let's try it again. Count by 4s. So x is 16 when y is 0. Okay, now we're going to put a 0 in for x. Remember, when you're on the y-axis here, you're at 0 on x, so we put a 0 in for x, and we go 30 times 0 plus 40, y equals 480. And let's just cross this 30 times 0 out. And we have, my handwriting's sloppy. That should say plus 40 times y. So 40y equals 480. Just divide both sides by 40. And we've got y is 12. So y is 12. So when you have 30 ounces, you have 12 40 ounces. You could draw a line between the two of these because it is a linear relationship. And any points on that line that are whole numbers will also be different combinations of 30 and 40 ounce drinks. So there you have it. Now let's take that equation and turn it into this right here. So 30x plus 40y equals 480. And you can tell the idea is to get y alone. So let's get y alone. If we subtracted 30x from both sides, we'd have 40y equals negative 30x plus 480. From there, we just need to divide by 40 on both sides. So we're taking 1/40 of everything on both sides. That gives us y alone. Y equals negative 3/4 x plus 12. Okay. Now there's an advantage to slope-intercept form. It's in function form. Slope-intercept is function form. We could put a number right in there for x. Let's just say at 4. Let's say x is 4. So negative 3 times 4, that's negative 12. Divided by 4, it's negative 3. Plus 12 is 9. So when you have 4 30-ounce sodas, you can get 9 40-ounce sodas like that. And you could plug in any number you wanted to for x, and you would get out a number for y. Now, if you plug in numbers that are too big for x, your y's are going to be negative, and you'll kind of figure out that that doesn't work. But that's kind of how that works. So advantages to both standard form and slope-intercept form. The advantage to slope-intercept form is you can see the slope and the y-intercept. The advantages to standard form is it's fairly easy to find the two intercepts, the x and y intercept. An advantage to slope form is slope-intercept form is you can plug in input in and get an output out. And so you need to understand how to convert from slope intercept to standard, from standard to slope intercept, and you need to get a good idea of these three big landmark features here: the slope, the x-intercept, and the y-intercept. Thank you very much.